now. This is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast. This is episode number 102. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, the founder and the director of Todd Capital Investment Club. We have over 300 members. We have about 200 people on the waiting list, and we're having people ask to join every single day. So we're in the process of rolling it out as a membership and subscription service. So really cool things are going to happen. So looking forward to that so that we can kind of balance the give and the take. So it's a little bit less on the take side, more on the the give side, but good things are happening over here. Make sure you leave us a rating or review, preferably a 5-star review on iTunes. Like, share, subscribe on YouTube, on any platform that you're using. Help us get the word out. We appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. You all know the purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of successful African-American business owners and investors so that people can hear the stories of successful examples because they exist. We want people to learn that business and investing are the true keys to financial success and generational wealth. With us today, we have Miss Nicole Webb. She is the founder of the NK Webb Group, which specializes in professional development and human resources and consulting, or human resources consulting, rather. Aside from being a business owner, Nicole teaches human resources courses at the University of Baltimore. And she also, and this wasn't included in her bio, she's also a writer for Black Enterprise. So I think the reason I found her, because I think she might have written an article about Ashley Fox, and I found her through there, and I found out that she had an Instagram profile. So, I mean, that's really cool in itself, because my goal is to get into Black Enterprise one day. But we'll talk about that later. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Charles, for having me.
So can you give us like a short bio, like a 1-minute bio of who you are and what life was like growing up?
Sure. I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. If you know anything about Baltimore, it's not one of the most pleasant places that you hear about. It's definitely a rough place, but it has some true gems around if you get a chance to explore. But come from a 2-parent household, working class parents who taught my siblings and I the importance of education and hard work. And with that, I knew early on that success was something that I wanted. I knew I wanted to be a successful business owner someday. I didn't know exactly what that looked like. I just knew that was something that I wanted to go for. So I went to college, undergrad, majored in business management with a concentration in marketing. I graduated at the age of 21, went on to get my first job at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, working in the human resources department. And that's very rare that you actually land a job in your career field upon graduating. And that was something I was able to do. And luckily, navigating through that college for 5 to several years, I was able to get different promotions and things, and went on to earn my MBA as well at the age of 25. And University of Maryland paid for my tuition, full tuition. And I just learned the importance of just taking advantage of resources that were presented to me.
I like it. I like it a lot. You said a few things that I want to kind of touch on, but I think the one that really stands out is you said that you wanted to be a successful business owner. Why was that? Why business? I mean, a lot of people are like, I want to get a good job. I want to work and retire. What made you focus on business ownership from an early age?
Well, I'll be honest with you, growing up and watching shows like The Cosby Show, A Different World, and just watching folks who were in business with their briefcases, you know, speaking professionally, presenting themselves professionally, it just seemed like that was going to be the vehicle that allowed me to create the lifestyle that I wanted to live. Of course, education was important as well, but it just seemed like business was the key. I didn't have business owners in my family. So honestly, I looked to, you know, what was on TV, what was presented, and I took that information and just kind of learned things as I went along throughout my career to meet different people who had businesses and learn from them, which really motivated me to major in business so that I can get a better understanding of it. like I said, I didn't have family members who owned businesses or knew about business. And I knew if that was something that I wanted to do, I was going to have to study it. I was going to have to make the investments to learn about it. And like I said, business is just truly the key to generating wealth, because when you study business in school, oftentimes you just have more independence and more flexibility in earning money when you are running and operating your own business versus, primarily just working a job, which is one stream of income. I mean, I have nothing against jobs because I have one, but I just knew how important it was going to be for me to create my own business along with having a job.
Right. I think that it's crazy how, Dame Dash, he made this point and he was saying, like, when he created Paid in Full because it was somebody else paying for it, he had to ask to put Cameron in the movie. And then when he creates his own films, he puts whoever he wants to put in there. And that's a small example of the flexibility and the power that comes with owning your own business. And I think that that's one of the things I enjoy particularly about being a business ownership or being a business owner is I do what I want to do. I don't have to ask for permission. And in a lot of instances, it's really tough to be successful if you're asking for permission all the time. Is what I found, especially if you're like moving forward. It's like, imagine if Apple would have said, do you guys think it's okay if we create these phones with no buttons? Everybody would have said, no, don't do that. That can
Right.
So now they're changing the world. And then also just with business ownership is that scale, that impact is much broader than your job. It's like a one-to-one relationship, one person, one job. But when you have your business, it's like it's one you with thousands of customers. And so it opens the world up to wealth. I 100% agree.
Cool. Absolutely.
When did you start your own business and how did you get it off the ground?
Sure. So I started NK Webb Group back in 2014. And believe it or not, my company was actually birthed out of a major roadblock that I ran into in my career. For a long time, I've been working in the human resources field, and my dream was always to have a high level paying HR position that allowed me to really exercise all the knowledge and skills that I had learned. And I landed that job making great money, great benefits. But in landing that job, I realized that I had no freedom of my own. Like, I was a prisoner to my job, working 50 to 60 hours a week. I had a 4-hour commute each day, 2 hours going to work, 2 hours coming home from work. And it was like I had no time to do anything but work. I always tell people that I was so busy working that I forgot to pay my bills every month. Like my bills were late every 2 weeks, not because I didn't have the money, but I was so inundated with work that I was forgetting to pay my bills. It was just very overwhelming, very frustrating. And in that season of my employment, I was just like, you know what, I can't keep doing this. I'm not happy. Yeah, the money is good. Yeah, I have this title, but it's really turned out to be my worst nightmare. This isn't what I want. And I know people often say it's easy to find a job when you have a job. But for me at that point, I didn't care about having a replacement. I just knew that I had to get away from what I was doing because I wasn't happy and it just wasn't working. So I actually quit. I quit my job, didn't have a replacement. I definitely had savings, which was a blessing. And I took about 2 months off. And during that 2-month hiatus, I just tried to figure out what I wanted to do next. And one of the thoughts that I had during that time was, for all those years, companies and universities had paid me top dollar for my knowledge and my skill set. So if they could pay me that, I'm sure I would be able to leverage what I had to offer to companies on my own by creating my own company. And I said, let me put my business degree to use. Let me actually step out on faith and start my own. And that's what I did with NK Webb Group. And that's why it's named after me, because it's an extension of what I have to offer. And I'm slowly building a team as well. And back in 2014, I said, let's start with professional development, which are like training and development classes for individuals, helping them to progress in their career. And the HR consulting piece, I actually offer human resource services to small to mid-sized companies that outsource that function. And I can tell you, my company has grown since day one. And the great thing is I was able to tap into all the companies that I previously worked for into some of their business, because a lot of the people that I worked with when I had my jobs through those different companies and universities, they trusted me and they said, Nicole, well, we could just hire you as a contractor through your company. And it worked out well. So I was able to take advantage of those companies' network to create my very own for my business.
Wow. It's similar to what investor at _investor did, where he left his job and then came back as an independent contractor. His two things, he said that he was able to make more money and work a lot less. Did you experience something similar?
Absolutely. One of the things that people don't realize is that when you're not working for a company opposed to working as an independent contractor, they can actually pay you more as an independent contractor because they're not paying you what's called fringe benefits. So they're not paying for your retirement. They're not paying for your health insurance and things like that. So you can actually negotiate a higher pay through, your consulting services versus actually being on their payroll. Because when you're on their payroll as an employee, they have to take into account your salary, your fringe benefits, and everything else. So I really made out like a fat rat, with going back as a consultant.
I like it. That's cool. So you have a few things that you specialize in talking about. So I want to talk to you about those. One of those is something that I think is something that should be talked about today. And it's using your career to create wealth. So can you kind of give us an idea of what that means?
Absolutely. So I'm going to be totally honest with you. I am so sick and tired of seeing people post that having a job is a setup for you to throw your dreams away. Don't work a job, be an entrepreneur. That's just one of many avenues that you could take to, perform work and create wealth. But what I've learned is that when you have a specialty, meaning you have a true profession that you specialize in, you then have a career, because that means that there are endless possibilities for you to grow and advance. My career is in human resource management and / business. So with that, there's so many things that I've been able to tap into. Yes, I work a 9-to-5 job. I'm a deputy director of equal employment opportunity. Pays very well. I also teach human resources at a local university. That pays well too. I have my own business. So I've been able to tap into the skills that I have and leverage them into different career opportunities to create multiple streams of income, to use those funds to purchase a home that's now my rental property. Now I'm working on the second home. I've also been saving through retirement through the company that I've been with for over 10 years. At the age of 35, I have a very hefty pension. I don't feel comfortable with saying what's in it because I am from Baltimore and live in Baltimore. I don't want anybody coming after me. But, I've been able to save through that, and that's doing very well. I've been able to create my very own business. My career jobs funded my business. My business is 5 years old now. It's making money. It's created different opportunities for me. So when I say use your career to create wealth, you have to leverage the opportunities that are presented to you, earn the money, but then flip that money to create more vehicles that will generate more wealth. If you're just buying things, tangible items, things that don't create any type of wealth, after a couple of months, you're no longer doing anything with them. You're just tossing them away. What was truly, the point in buying those things? I just feel like more people need to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them, or create the opportunities so that they can generate wealth.
Absolutely. I think what you're saying is like people really have no excuse. It's like there's so much time in a day to do all the things that you need to do in order to create wealth. And you're kind of a testament to that. It's like you have a full-time job, you run a business, and you teach.
Absolutely.
One of the points that you said really key is like a lot of people, they work their job and then they spend the money. And I always think about it, it's like you're really just throwing your life away, because you, at one point in time, you had to exchange time for that money. And so if then you just give it away and throw it all away on liabilities to look cool, then you can't get that time back. But if you take that time and you invest that time, then maybe in 5 years, 10 years, then you can earn your time back. So then you can live the life that you want on your terms. It might not be this week, but it might be in 10 years, where then you can choose to walk away from the job completely. And then you're just working however many hours you want per week so that you can really travel the world like you want to travel and do all those different things. So it's kind of interesting to hear you say that. One of the things you said, or one of the other points, is acquiring assets and saying no to liabilities. I'm kind of curious if you can define what an asset for the people is, though.
Absolutely. So an asset, of course, is something that keeps money in your pocket, generates more money, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. And let me give you a prime example. Before I was the CEO of my career, I was actually young and dumb, and when I got my paycheck, I spent it as soon as I got it. And I'm talking about post-college in my career field, making great money. I would get paid on Wednesday, and I was broke by Friday because I was living beyond my means. And what I realized a couple years later was, with the kind of money that I made, it was no true reason that I didn't have the savings that I should have had. And it was no reason I should be broke 2 to 3 days after getting paid. And it wasn't until I had did that, honestly, for a couple of years that I said, you know what, Nicole, you're smarter than this. You have a master's degree. You know what you're supposed to do. You don't need any more car payments. After this car, you know what, pay this off, no more car payments. Cash cars only. You know what, instead of living in a, what do you call it, you know how you have like the fancy apartments and things. I was living in like a very nice luxury apartment. It was nice, but I had no equity. So it's like, why am I driving this car with a car payment? Why am I living in this apartment home? I'm not making anything off of this. Tax time, they're killing me. I'm paying taxes every year. Some things have to change. And I didn't need anybody to tell me this because this was something that I knew for myself. I guess it was just a come to Jesus moment that day where I figured I cannot do this anymore. So what I did was, and I'm going to be extremely honest, I was driving a Jeep Wrangler at the time. And where I lived, I took the subway to work every day. So I wasn't driving a Jeep, paying a car payment every month. And it's like, why am I paying this car payment? I'm not using it. It's draining my pocket. That's money I could save. So what I did was I called CarMax. Jeep Wranglers were in demand. I think they still are. I went up there. They actually paid the loan off for the car and gave me an additional $3,000. So I actually made money off the car. Made money off the car. If you would have told me that was something I could do, I wouldn't have believed that. But I have a friend who is very much into the car business, and he explained to me, he said, look, these are in demand. They hold their value. Reach out to CarMax and see what they say. And sure enough, it worked out. So I made $3,000 off of driving the car for a whole year. So got rid of that and then got a cash car. Still had a nice vehicle, nice, clean, worked well. So that's money back in my pocket. And then I'm looking at the luxury rental apartment that I'm living in, where I'm seeing local Ravens players. They lived in the same building. Well, I knew I wasn't making Ravens money. So why am I in this place? Nicole, be smarter. So I said to myself, you know what? I have great credit, always have. That was a plus. But now that I no longer had the car payment and I took some time to build up my savings, I reached out to my realtor. And I said, you know what? I'm ready. This is something that I need to do. I have to acquire equity, and I have to stop paying taxes every year, because that was a big thing too. I can't keep giving Uncle Sam my money every year. I worked too hard for this. And I went from living in a luxury apartment to now owning a home. And what I purposely did was, the home that I bought, I knew I wanted something that I was able to live in and be comfortable in a good neighborhood, a nice school district. But I said, I only want to live in it 2 to 3 years because I want to turn it into my rental. And that's what I did. I didn't buy at the top of my max. Went in, nice home, did some minor updates, a refresh, as my realtor calls it. And after 2.5 years, converted into a rental property. So those were some of the things that I was able to do to generate wealth for myself. So now for me, I have assets and I don't have as many liabilities. So I would just encourage anyone to take a look at what you're spending your money on, and is it keeping money in your pocket and generating more money, or is it just truly taking money away? Is it leaving you broke, and are you struggling to figure out, how to rob Peter to pay Paul? And nobody wants to live like that. It just adds more stress to your life.
When you bought that property, What kind of financing did you use? Was it an FHA loan? Was it some sort of a special loan program? How did you get the home?
Honestly, I went conventional. I know most people do FHA and things, but I went conventional because they had some type of special where if you put down a certain amount and you used the conventional loan, you didn't have to pay, what do you call it? PMI. Private mortgage insurance. So it really worked out for me. And that's why another point too, when you have money, cash is king because you can really truly use it to your advantage. When you have to borrow a lot of money and you need certain special finances, sometimes those programs appear to be great on the front end, but what they're not telling you is they have an additional, what do we call it? Lien. I think it's a lien on your property. So it's like you already have one lien. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but bottom line is some of those programs are beneficial, but sometimes they're not. So really just read all the fine print. I knew I didn't want restrictions on my property. You have to live in it for 5 years before you rent and do X, Y, and Z. That wasn't something that I was looking forward to doing. So I didn't mind putting out more cash on the front end so that I could have, flexibility to do what I wanted to do with it.
Nice. Wow, there's a lot in there. I think what's cool is you didn't buy at the top of your budget, and so many people, what they want to do is they want to max it out. Why did you strategically do that? Was it?
Well, the reality is the banks are quick to tell us what we can afford. Oh, you're approved for this. Okay, I may be approved for that, but what can I know what I can afford to pay every month. I know what my true budget is. So my thing is, I'm the CEO not only of my career, but of my finances. So I'm going to do what works for me. Just because I can afford to make the payment every month doesn't mean that I can truly afford it from my budget. So I knew that I wanted something that was going to be way below what they qualified me for because I still needed flexibility to live on a day-to-day, continue to save, and position myself to acquire another property within the next few years. So for me, I knew what I could afford and I knew what my plan was. So buying the big dream home so I can post it online for people to see, that's not my style. For me, I'm a business person mentally, so I'm always looking to be strategic and just, work the plan, make the plan work for me. So I would just encourage people, pay attention. The banks may approve you for one thing, but that doesn't mean that you have to buy at that budget. Go with what works for you and what you can afford every month and still live well. If you want to travel, you can still travel and do what you want to do. You can still eat at Whole Foods. You don't have to go to the local Save a Lot and get what's on sale. You want to still live your life on your own terms.
I like that you said acquiring assets and saying no to liabilities. You also said that cash is king. And I think what's really important is like a lot of people, we go through life acquiring things that look like we have power instead of acquiring things that actually give us power.
Mm-hmm.
You said say
Absolutely.
No to liabilities, which I think is a hard stance. I like that because I think there's a gray area. A lot of people will say like, oh, well, you got to live. What do you say to the people that don't have their stuff together, but they're also kind of like having this, you got to live because you only live once mentality?
Well, I'll say this. There was a time when I had that mindset too. But when you have those bills coming at you every month and you're stressed, depressed because all your money is gone every 2 weeks because you're paying bills, well, you can't live anyway because your money is gone. But when you strategically identify your needs versus your wants, it helps you to really figure out the best way to spend your money. And believe it or not, a lot of times you're able to do more than what you thought you could afford to do because now you're strategically identifying truly what your needs are. I'm not saying don't go and treat yourself to things that you want. Hey, you very well can, but timing is everything. Hey, I would love a Tesla, but I'm not in a position to get a Tesla right now. I'm still driving my older Range Rover. It's paid off, so it works well for me. So bottom line, what I'm saying is you have to identify what's most important and prioritize what you're going to spend your money on. And I just feel like for me, it's really helped me to generate more wealth and save more money because I'm just not pouring money out of my budget just to kind of keep up with the Joneses, and I don't even know who they are. So I would just say, just be mindful of what you're spending your money on. And if you're someone who feels the need to have everything you put your eyes on, then, good luck to you, because it's probably going to be tough down the line. Because I know, managing your finances appropriately is not for everybody. That's why some people are just true consumers and they make us business owners rich. So whatever works for you.
Yeah. I like that you're like very intentional about your finances. Like so many people make the mistake of just buying what the bank says they can buy. And I think that's such a huge mistake, because the only person that's going to have a vested interest in your finances is you. They are vested in their commission. And so like Rich Dad Poor Dad always says, he says, take advice from rich people, not salespeople, and take advice from people like you who have done something strategically as opposed to just trying to sell somebody a mortgage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Charles, I'm going to share this too, because I try to be as honest as possible. My parents ended up separating when I got in college. They'd always been together throughout my childhood, but when they separated, the great thing was my mom continued with our home. And one of the things that she said to me was, this is why when we bought this house, we bought according to what we can afford off of one income. She said, can you imagine if we would have bought a home that required both incomes? We would be out of here. We would have to figure out what to do next. She said, but we'll be fine. Everything will be okay. So in seeing that, watching that happen, that was a true lesson for me to say, you know what? I have to buy according to what I truly can afford. And even if I had to go work at the local Walmart or Target overnight to pay my bills, could I make it happen? And for me, I'm just always trying to live below my means. That's how I get ahead. And believe it or not, it works. Living below your means can help you get ahead faster.
Right. That's such a hack. And I want people to really hear that point, because my parents did the same thing. They, pre-2009, they upgraded their house. And so they got caught up in the mania and they bought this huge, huge, huge home. It ended up not working out with that home. And so when they went to go buy their new home, they said, hey, we're not going to buy a home that requires both of our incomes. We're going to buy a home that requires one person's income. And then I was listening to His and Her Money, and they call it the 2-income trap. And they said that a lot of people, when they're married, because there is a lot of flexibility that comes with being married, financial flexibility, that is, you can get caught up in this, like, oh, well, we can afford it, we can do it, but you never know what's going to happen. Like, she might lose her job, she might decide she doesn't want to work, you might decide you might lose your job. Like, it's such a key principle. So even if you are married, for people listening, like, you can't get caught up and you can't get in that trap, because you have to always kind of play defense as well as offense. You don't want to just play defense, and you don't want to just play offense. You got to play defense and offense. I like that a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I look at that too as being like the living the paycheck to paycheck setup too. I mean, I feel like a lot of us, not us, but a lot of people, I used to be in that category. I would spend my money before I got it. I knew I was getting paid in 2 weeks. That check was already spent. And it was like I said, I got to the point where it was like, it's no way with the kind of money that I make, I don't have any money left. I can't do anything that I want to do. But that was all due to the decisions that I was making. And one of the things, I'm going to just give a prime example of something small, a small change that I made that worked. Cable TV. I had every channel you can imagine, but I was never home to watch it. I was working. I had my business. So why am I paying for a service that I'm not using? So I said, you know what? I'm turning this off. I lived directly across from the library at the time. And I don't know if people know, but you can rent DVDs from the library. And I mean, they have nice movies. So I went from having cable to going to the library, renting new releases. I was reading more books. And it really, believe it or not, it helped my business more because I was learning more about my business, things to add. And it was just a double whammy. It really helped me out. I eliminated the debt, the cable bill, and was learning more, adding more knowledge to my mental bank. So it's a small thing, but it's a small change that had a great impact.
So one of the points that you sent over was that you make the point of choosing not to live paycheck to paycheck. And in this day of social media advocacy, a lot of people will say, oh, well, you don't know. People don't have any choice. People this, people that. But you still think it's a choice. Why is that?
We make choices every day. We choose what we're spending our money on. We choose whether we want a career or to settle for a dead-end job. When people say, well, what do you mean a career versus a job? Well, a career is when you have a true profession that you work in. You have an expertise. And with that expertise, you're able to land career jobs that will provide you the opportunity for growth and advancement. If you're just working a job that just pays the bills, you're a local cashier and there's no room for progression or advancement, if you don't have a true skill set that's attached to the job that you do, hey, most likely you're going to be replaced with artificial intelligence very soon. That's something that I'm working on. So I'm trying to promote more people to identify what your skills are, identify what you're knowledgeable in, what is your expertise. And if you don't have an expertise, you better get one soon, because bottom line is your career is going to be directly attached to the expertise that you have. Mm-hmm. And with that, with making that choice to choose a career over, like I said, a dead-end job, it's setting you up for more success, because now you can leverage that skill set that you have for different opportunities. And with that knowledge that you have, you're able to leverage that for the pay that you deserve. Bottom line is nobody's paying you top dollar if you don't have something great to offer them. I'm able to leverage my skill set for top dollars because people know I'm great at HR. I've been in the industry for 14 to 15 years now. My name is known within the industry. So I choose to continue to better myself, increase my knowledge in the field. And that way I'm going to charge what I'm worth. I'm not settling for less. And to give you an example, not to boast, but I just want people to understand. A few years ago, I got a call from a colleague that said, hey, we have a position open. It pays $100,000. And I told them about you. Do you want it? Because bottom line was they didn't have to actually recruit for the position. It was like a special appointment where they could place who they wanted in it. And I said, $100,000. I said, do they have any more money in the budget? Well, no, it's $100,000. And, you'll get a company car, phone. I said, no, I'm good. She was like, Nicole, what do you mean you're good? I said, I'm good. That's not enough. I know what I can earn if I'm a human resources director, anywhere from 140 to 160. So I'm not settling for 100,000. And she was like, you know what? You are crazy. That's good money. I said, well, yeah, it is good money, but it's not what I'm worth. I'm good. Thanks for thinking about me. Until this day, she still laughs at that. Like, you are crazy. That is great money. I would have taken it. Well, you only take those type of opportunities, what's perceived as opportunities, when you don't know your worth. So when you know your worth, you don't have to settle for less. So that's why I say we choose what we accept. We choose what we position ourselves for. And for me, at this point in my life and my career, I'm making all choices that are going to benefit me for the long run.
Preach it. That was really good. I like it. No, I think
it's true. This is facts.
One of the things you said is, and I think it's really important for people to get this, is you have to have a skill. You have to have a trade. And I know that, like, back in the day, that's kind of how it was. You can't have a community if you don't have skills and trades. If everybody is out here trying to play pro sports and trying to rap, then it's like you can't have a community full of rappers and basketball players. And so I think that, like, you're absolutely right. And that's one thing that I'm learning, is that as you have a skill, as you have a trade, the world opens up to you, because you start to just double down and become even better at your trade. And so the separation occurs. And so at one point you knew HR and there's somebody else who just was studying something else. And now you are the ex-HR pro. Like, nobody's touching you.
Absolutely.
And that's just because you just stay focused on your career and stay. And one of the things that I really like is you're right. When you have a career, like, things build on each other. And so opportunities pop up. And so one thing I tell people is you can use your skills on the job to create a business. And so your business directly aligns with your skill set. And so you just happen to market it to the world, which then allows you to make limitless money as opposed to $100,000 with a company car and a cell phone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why I tell people it's so important to invest in your professional development, your personal development. Of course, I ran into people, oh, I'm not paying for that class, or my job isn't paying for it, I'm not going. Well, think about it like this. Is your job truly going to pay for something that's going to help to develop you so you can go and grow your business and go elsewhere? No, they're going to help develop you so that you can do the job that they hired you to do well. And that's okay. Take advantage of that. But if it's something that you want to learn, a skill that you want to perfect, use your money to invest in that because you're going to benefit from it. So my thing is, you have to make the investment. The return will come, but make the investment even if you're paying for it yourself. You can't expect to earn more if you're not willing to learn more.
Right. So can you talk to us about taking advantage of the benefits offered at your company?
Absolutely. All right, so this is the fun stuff. This is when you really, you got to have that hustle in you. You have to be able to analyze all that can work in your favor. So with most companies, they offer, you get a salary. Most people get a salary or an hourly rate. But I always tell people, take a look at the full compensation package. And when I use the term compensation, we're looking at everything that the company is paying for you. So not just salary, we're talking about your benefits, we're talking about retirement, we're talking about your vacation time, personal leave, etc. So for me, one of the key benefits that the company that I worked for as I built my career offered was tuition remission and tuition reimbursement. So for those who don't know what that is, they would send you to college for free. They would pay your tuition up front. All you had to do was pay for your fees, which was like $500 to $600, and you paid for your book. So when I learned about that benefit, I said, you know what, I have to figure out what I can study and get under my belt because this is a benefit you can't pass up. And what I noticed in the workplace was a lot of Caucasians, and I'm just being honest, a lot of them came to work for that employer just so they could take advantage of the benefit to send their kids to college using the tuition remission benefit because they didn't want their kids to have student loan debt once they graduated. Now, being young in my early 20s, I didn't totally get it, but I did understand it. And I said to myself, Nicole, you got to take advantage of this benefit. You already have an undergrad degree. Why don't you go back and get your master's in business and specialize in human resources? So that's exactly what I did. I used the tuition remission benefit, acquired my MBA, and I have no student loan debt. And I mean, I was fortunate for my parents to pay out of pocket for undergrad. So took advantage of that tuition remission benefit. Also, retirement, the different retirement packages that my employer offered. A lot of times when you're in your early 20s, the last thing you're worrying about is saving for retirement. But I will urge people, take advantage of saving for retirement because most companies have what's called the matching system. They'll match up to a certain amount of money every year to what you contribute. And I know it may seem like a far along off thing to achieve retirement, but I've been with my company now for close to 11 years. I've been in the working world for 15 years. So time does fly, and saving that money makes sense. And I can tell you with me saving that money and my employer matching that, I've been able to save a six-figure retirement fund. And I'm 35 years old. I started when I was 21. So that's truly been a blessing for me. And finally, as far as like benefits for taking time off, I don't know if a lot of people know, but I just had my first child and I was able to take 3 months off from work, and I didn't miss not one paycheck. They covered every single day. I had enough leave to cover 3 months of maternity leave. And when I came back to work, I still have 3 weeks worth of vacation left. So when I say take advantage of the benefits that your company offers, take a true look at everything compensation-wise that they offer you and figure out how you can use it to your advantage. Because your take-home pay is not the only thing you need to focus on. Use those other benefits to your benefit and to your family's benefit. Whether they're going to send you to school, send your kids to school, pay for daycare, take a look, take advantage of it. Or even if you have to go to another employer that offers better benefits that will help you reach your financial and career goals, I would urge you to do that as well.
So I didn't know that you can use tuition reimbursement or tuition remission, which is the first time I've heard that term, to send your kids to school.
Absolutely. It depends on the company that you work for. And let me explain the difference. Tuition remission is when the organization pays for your tuition up front. So they pay, you submit the paperwork to them. Most processes work this way. You fill out, you register for your classes. Once you get the bill, you submit it to your human resources department, and they'll go ahead and pay the bill for your tuition up front. You're just responsible for your fees and, of course, paying for your books. But some companies offer what's called tuition reimbursement. So what happens is you pay for your tuition up front, and they may have a requirement for you to earn at minimum a B in that class. So once the semester is over, you're able to produce your grades. They'll reimburse you for the tuition fee once you submit your grades to them. Along with that, like most companies, like my company, once you're employed with them for 2 years, not only does that tuition remission benefit extend to you, but it also extends to your children after 2 years of employment. So that's why I'm saying you have to pay attention and learn. You have to go and seek this information, because what I did find is a lot, and I hate to say it, but it was a lot of the Black people, they didn't even know about these benefits, because it's one of those things where as though the information is there, but if you're not seeking it, you're not going to learn about it. It's just that by me working in human resources, my ear is to the ground. I hear everything because I'm there. So I would always, share with people in conversations, hey, have you ever thought about going back to school? So for me, it really worked out because I knew about it. But for those of you who've never heard of tuition remission, tuition reimbursement, please contact your human resources department. Ask them if they offer that benefit. Or if you're looking for new employment opportunities and you're looking to go to college or send your kids to college for free, seek out companies that offer those benefits. So make that a part of your job search.
Is one of those better or worse, or are they pretty much just a different way to do the same thing?
Really, they're different. They're different ways to do the same thing. But to me, I prefer the tuition remission because I didn't want to take the money out my savings. I wanted them to pay for it up front. Hey, let me just pay my fees and get my books. Because not everybody has that kind of money to put up and, wait a whole 4 to 5 months after the semester is over to get their money back. So for me, I prefer the remission. But either way, I would say it's beneficial because they're going to pay for it. You just have to meet the requirements as far as earning that B grade for the reimbursement. Most companies require that. But like I said, look to your company, do the research to see exactly what their requirements are.
What are some other hidden HR gems that people might not know about that they should be taking advantage of?
Other HR gems. As far as benefits or just information that they need to know?
I would say maybe
just kind of clarify
benefits.
for me.
Maybe benefits. What are some other benefits that people don't take advantage of that they should?
I would say what I see is really what I see is the savings. Believe it or not, I run into a lot of older people when I'm just having conversations with people really in that baby boomer generation. A lot of them would say to me, they'll say to me, I don't have a 401k or 403b. I couldn't afford to have that money deducted out of my paycheck every 2 weeks. So I didn't invest in that. I'm just saving money on my own. And these are folks who are closely nearing retirement, and they really don't have the money, now to truly retire. So most of them, unfortunately, will probably work until they can't anymore. So that's why I urge millennials and younger folks to take advantage of the retirement benefits now. Like I said, it's not something that you probably care about right now because you're young and you have a long way to go, but time flies. So please start investing in your retirement plan. I mean, just start with a minimum amount of $50. And one of the things my mentor taught me, and it's worked, every year when I would get a pay increase, I would just increase my contributions. So that way I was always living on less than what I earned and putting more money away. So I would definitely say it's the retirement benefit, because when I talk to a lot of people, and for some people that know me well, I'll share with them what I've been able to save. They're like, oh my God, how are you able to do that? Well, I did it early on as soon as I could. So I would definitely recommend taking advantage of the retirement benefit.
You do a lot. How do you manage your time? How do you work your job, run your business, and teach?
Well, prior to having a 4-month-old, it was easy. It's crazy now. Now I'm pulling my hair out. I would say, again, prior to being a new mom, it wasn't as hard as people may think. And I say that because I work my job from 7:30 to 4 Monday through Friday. I work from home on Wednesdays, and I teach one day a week. And it's usually like a Tuesday or Thursday. But the benefit to me teaching is I'm teaching what I practice. So while I'm at work every day, it all overlaps with what I'm doing with teaching. So while most professors are doing prep and having to create notes, this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. So it cuts down on my prep work because I practice this anyway. So really, I would just have one long day during the week as far as going to work and then going to teach. So I would be gone for a whole, 14 hours a day. And then with my clients, I would schedule them like 3 days out the week between 6 and 9 p.m. So it was definitely a lot of work. Definitely a lot of prioritizing. But I can tell you, getting proper rest, eating good food to fuel my body, to prepare me to function, it really helped. So prioritization is very important in planning my schedule ahead of time.
What would be your best advice to somebody looking to go into business for themselves?
Research the industry that you're looking to go into. Learn as much as you can. Study those who have been successful in what it is that you want to do. Do not copy their success. Copy what they've done to create that success. There's a saying that success leaves clues. Take advantage of those clues. Take advantage because that's what they're there for. But don't copy somebody else's success as far as trying to look the way that they look, speak the way that they speak. That's not what you have to do. Pay attention to what they did to create that success. So research is key. You can't just look the part and try to play the role because that's not going to last long. Do the work, invest the time in it so that you can create success on your own terms.
Right. What is your favorite business book?
My favorite business book? Well, I'm going to kind of put a twist on this. It's not a business book, but there's a book by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. It's called The Miseducation of the Negro. That was the best book that I read that really inspired me to take advantage of the knowledge, skills, and abilities that I have to create my own business and to be successful at business. And the gist of the book talks about how many African Americans, they think because they go to college and they have degrees that they're smart, but there's so many true business gems that they miss because they're not paying attention to what's in front of them. They're not taking advantage of the resources that they're privy to. They a lot of times wait for people to give them permission to run businesses or to do things that they want to do. And that book really inspired me to become more self-educated, find out what it is that I wanted to learn, buy books on it, not hoping and wishing that I can learn about it, but actually making the investment in myself to learn what it is that I wanted to do.
Right. Awesome. What do you think separates successful business people from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
I would say passion. When you're truly passionate about something and it's something that you want, you're not going to let anything get in the way, even if it's failure along the way. I can tell you with me and starting my business, it wasn't easy. That first year was very difficult, but I kept pushing forward. I kept reevaluating, figuring out what could I do differently. I did research on other companies that were similar to mine, and I figured out different ways to tweak things. And I just kept pushing forward because I'm passionate about professional development and human resource consulting. So for me, if you truly want to be successful at what it is you're passionate about, nothing is going to get in the way. But if you want to be successful just so that you can say you're successful and to say that you have a business, it's highly likely that it's not going to work because you'll get discouraged very easily.
Right. It's like if you're chasing money, the money's not coming in, then you're going to say, I guess I'll just do something different. I'll do something. I'll go back to work.
Absolutely.
Who is somebody that you look up to and why?
Honestly, I look up to Candy Burris, and I'm sure you know who Candy is. She is one of the well, that's not the best way to depict her, one of the housewives of Atlanta, but more importantly, she is a true businesswoman. She has a conglomerate of different businesses. And one of the things that I love about Candy is she is so fearless. I mean, she taps into so many different markets. I know people may not be too excited about the different industries that she taps into, but the reality is that they generate money. And she's able to create products and services that attract and appeal to clients, and clients patronize her businesses. So she's truly a businesswoman that I look up to.
What do you think inspired this new, like, kind of business revolution that we're seeing? I'm happy that it's here. I think, honestly, I have my opinion, my political views, but, I mean, are you guys seeing the same thing in Baltimore? And, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like we're kind of living through a renaissance.
Well, I think more people are interested in business because it's being more talked about and more promoted in social media, whether it's rappers or actors, actresses. People in mainstream media are truly promoting the importance of business ownership. And I must say, I'm happy about it too. I feel like if you have that kind of platform, use it in a way to uplift people, especially Black people, because so many of us are just true consumers. And we have the highest level of buying power. And if you study people like Malcolm X and Dr. Carter G. Woodson, some of them believe that we were better as a race when we were segregated because it forced us to buy from our own people. It forced us to be creative and rely on one another instead of looking outside of our own culture for people to hire us. So I just think it's important that we continue to push the movement of ownership forward, because it's the true way to create wealth within your own community and to ensure that, you're passing down that wealth to your children from years to come, and even your grandchildren. So I'm all for it. Ownership is the true key to wealth.
Absolutely. And I'm all for the wealth talk. I mean, that's what this podcast is about. But one of the things I always tell people is, like, ownership and control and running your own business is as much about just being the master of your fate as anything. It's kind of like Dame Dash says. He's like, there's pride in ownership because I dictate what I want. And there's so much pride in being able to say, no, I don't want your $100,000. That is power. Power is not like chasing the opportunity. Power is determining if you want the opportunity or not. And I think that's what business ownership and entrepreneurship and owning your own property, like, if an example is, we had a tenant who always pays on the first. And for some reason she hadn't paid. And so I called her. I was like, hey, like, what's going on? And she was like, oh yeah, my company had a strike, blah, 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 but I'm going to send you over the rent plus the late fees. And I thought about it. I was like, well, you guys are like in a kind of sucky situation. I was like, don't even pay the late fees. Just send over the regular rent. It's all good, because she always pays on time. And I mean, I think that is the reason why, like, we have to own and we have to provide for each other, because I'm not over here like, yeah, pay the late fees. And, oh yeah, you also got to add extra fees because it's actually late a few days on top of the late fee. And I think that us being in a position to rent to each other and ultimately be able to lend to each other, because my goal is to sell or finance these properties. I want them to be homeowners. And so we then become a bank. And that is power, which actually creates a good experience for those tenants. And if we don't step in and be those people, then we're doing our community and our culture a disservice at a grand scale. And so I'm one of those people that actually agrees, like, we were actually better off in segregation. Like, there were some things that were jacked up, like the blatant stuff that was happening. But even that, it pushes you to be stronger as a people. It pushes you together. There's more unity. There's more cohesiveness. And now I don't know what is going on. But one of the points you said earlier, you were talking about, like, TV. And I was like, it's kind of sad because, like, nobody has any TV shows that they can look up to and aspire to. There are no Cosby shows anymore. There are no Family Matters anymore. It's just like, I don't even know what they watch anymore.
Love and hip hop.
Right. Love and hip hop. And that's what we get.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on the show. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that's back to choices. Just because those shows are airing and that's the way they're depicting us doesn't mean that's what we have to patronize and feed into. Absolutely. And I can tell you, I was a person that used to watch those shows. because I went to work every day, came home and did nothing. But the moment I decided that, you know what, I have to make some changes, I made those changes, and I didn't have that opportunity to watch TV, watch those shows anymore because I couldn't. So when you eliminate things from your view and focus on other things, it truly adds value in different ways. But it just starts with our choices, bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like choose to make different choices that benefit you.
I like it. I like it. Is there anything I missed that you want to talk about and cover?
I think we hit everything. I really do. I feel like I said all that I wanted to get across. Only other thing, for those who are listening, I do have a workshop that I created. It's called Be the CEO of Your Career. And this workshop is designed for career professionals who may feel stuck, lost, want to change your career, or someone who just wants to identify the career field that they're looking to go into. This 4-hour workshop that I created, I actually help you to identify, what it is that you want to do, how to go about doing it so that you can be successful. It is an annual workshop. This will be our 3rd year. It's coming up in October, on October 12th, 2019 here in Baltimore. So I would say look out for that information on my Instagram page, on Twitter, and also on LinkedIn.
Nice. And then we'll also see if we can get some links in the show notes for those courses or for the workshop.
Okay.
Where can people find out more about you? Where can they learn about your company? Where can they follow you on social media?
Absolutely. Feel free to find me on my website, www.nkwebgroup.com. That's web with 2 B's. Also, I'm on Instagram under Nicole, Nicole, K.Webb. And I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter under my name as well, Nicole K. Webb. And also find me on Black Enterprise because I do write for them regularly. Every month I publish a career advice article or like a feature of someone who's in a different career industry.
Nice. Very cool. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for making the time for the listeners. I know they're going to get a lot of value out of this episode. Just a lot of powerful gems in regard to career, money management, real estate, business. We talked about everything on this show. So definitely it speaks to the true view of what this show stands for. So I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. You guys, if you're interested in joining either of the investment clubs, like I said, you can express your interest right now, but we aren't necessarily bringing on people, but we're going to roll it out as a membership platform with a monthly Netflix type subscription, but you're going to get access to a lot of really cool things like investment insight, the mastermind effect that comes with the investment club, and all those different great things. You can also find me on social media at Todd Millionaire. The website's www.capitaltodd.com, email propertymanagement.com. If you have any real estate opportunities that you know of in your area, add us to your buyers list because we're looking to buy nationwide. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, signing off.